It's spelled the same. Aleph base Reish.
It's the same, Reb Yaakov.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it is the same sign. I'm sorry. It's the same sign. I was thinking of something else with an ayin. But why Bas Koyin does she get that? If it's Tamas Nus, it's not like that, right? Bas Koyin.
I don't have the answer for. I mean,
no, I know Hanami, but we have to. There has to be saying Mustama. You can push it weiter. I just don't know. You're the mechaber of the word, so you.
Koyanim's Rizamein.
So
Bas Koyan.
She's saying she was two Zoras.
You should have been more careful. Yeah.
I hear. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Okay, so okay, where are we up to?
I involve them in
second, yeah, the first wide line. First wide line, right?
Oh, you're all the way down there? Okay. Okay.
Oh, we missed you this morning, Rabar. Yeah, I was going to text you, think it's okay, but yeah, I just figured you were busy with something. Yeah, we have it. First wide line.
Yeah, that's all right to find. First wide line.
All right. So okay. So what we're discussing is ilagovar tatogovar, which is a big machlokes in Hilchos Kashrus, right? That Levi holds that Levi holds the top overpowers the bottom, and Shmuel holds that the bottom overpowers the top. Like I said Levi. I'm mixing it up with the next Gemara. Okay, yeah, all right. So Rav and Shmuel. Rav says the top overpowers the bottom, and Shmuel says the bottom overpowers the top. Again, did they sit in a lab and do the experiments on this, or is this done? Is this with Ruach HaKodesh? This, right? I'm saying it's l'chayr. It's a mitzias, right? So either they had different labs, or this wasn't done with a lab. I don't know if I'm getting into the Apikorsa section now or not, but I don't know. But it's a very interesting. Yeah, but that's the Machlokes. So now we got finished trying to prove Rav, and now we're going to say Shmuel. Tanikav say the Shmuel, first wide line. Cham l'soy cham, assur, right? Hot into hot is assur. V'chein tzayin l'soy cham. Assur, and then cold into hot is also assur. Cham l'soich tzainin, hot into cold, but tzainin l'soich tzainin madiach, then you just have to wash it off. Yeah. So now again, let's go through the cases. Hot into hot is assur. Okay, that's pasha. Cold into hot is assur. That's like Shmuel. Hot into cold, and cold into hot. Then that's the bottom is the cold one. Hot into cold, right? So that the bottom is cold, so it's going to overpower it. And cold into cold, and you're just going to rinse it off. Yeah, fine. So cham l'soich tzayin madiach. So hot into cold, you wash keeping the chamhu at the makerli yashad le'palapurta. Right, since it's going to cool it off a little bit. Right, it's not possible that something's got to get absorbed, right? There's heat and there's cold. The bottom line is it's touching heat, right? So then the klipa miyabay, it should at least need a klipa, right? Why are you just saying wash it off? Where the hot touches the cold, there has to be some sort of penetration of taste. So therefore, you should need a klipa. So if it's hot into cold, you have to do klipa. But cold into cold, then you just have to wash, which is the way we paskin. This is the way we paskin. And I was trying to think of examples today, but the bottom line is if you take a piece of cheese and you put it down on top of, if you take a hamburger, a hot hamburger, and put it down on a piece of cheese, right? So that's a bad example because then that piece of cheese will become assur because that's a klipa, just the cheese. But let's say you put it down on a thick piece of cheese, right? then you would just have to take a clip of the cheese off, try it at home and see if anybody's gonna, they don't put you into chayrim, right?
That's
But,
a good example from the Pesach Tshuva. I mean, that's
right, exactly. But if you take the cheese and a big fat piece of cheese and you put it down on top of a hot hamburger, then the whole cheese is gone because the bottom overpowers the top, right? That would be the nafkamina. Not that that's such a practical case. The more practical case is when you take a boiling hot piece of meat and put it down on a milk countertop, right? So now even though the bottom overpowers the top, but we still say a klipa. So how do you do that? Either you can peel off the top layer of wood if it's a wood counter, or you just kosher it and you'll kosher it the same way. I'm sorry, one second. Okay, right. Sorry, Tani. Either we have learned in another brayso. If you have meat, hot meat that falls into hot milk. Cold that falls into hot. Assur, so it's assur. If it's hot into cold, it's madiach. So the Gemara says the same thing. If it goes hot into cold, you have to wash it. Since it's hot at the maker, when it gets cooled off, right before it gets cooled off, it's impossible that little bit is not going to absorb something. So klipa mi'ibay, so it should need a klipa. So then the Gemara says, when hot goes into cold, you do need a klipa. Cold into cold, all you have to do is wash it. Fine. Omar Mar.
Is Shmuley online?
What do you say?
Is Shmuley online? Shmuley Sugar?
He was. I don't know
I'm just curious. Did they know back then? Did they know back then how to skim milk?
That's a good question. I don't know. They knew a long time ago.
Why you want to know?
You have a clear raya from the Gemara that milk is not a davar shamin.
I'm saying, so what are you saying? What does that have to do?
Today we don't paskin like this.
Which case? I mean, because of the milk. Because milk is a davar shamin.
Yeah.
Gershi, I don't even know a history like Shmuley, but they had to have known that. It was milk. Milk was a basic thing. They knew everything about milk.
Whatever I'm going to say is a guess, but I think they knew a lot of stuff a long time ago that we think they didn't know.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Here, so I don't know. We're going to get to davar shamin and Amud base. So let's see. So Omar Mar, again, this is a massive in kashrus. This is about. Marchuk's back, so I could tell this is about as important the daf as you get in Hilchos Kashrus. Now that you're back, I could say that. Yeah. So Omar, so cold into cold, you wash it off. That's only if it's not salty. Milchu assur, but if it's salty, then it's assur. Right? Shmuel, something salty is as if it's boiling. Kavush and something soaked, that's like being cooked. Now, okay, let's give you a light and then we'll talk the practical. This, so we said that salt is considered like burning. That's only if it's so salty that you can't eat it. But if you could eat it, even though it's salty, then it doesn't apply. Right?
See, Yaakov, when they put away meat to save it, they buried it in salt. It's different than eating it with salt. When they took it out 2 months later, then they would rinse out that salt off. That was.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's what it is. But what the interesting thing is that if the one piece of meat is very salty, right? So what are we saying? And it touches a piece of cheese. So now that's considered like it's hot, right? And by the way, we don't care about we don't care which one's on top. By salt, for whatever reason, if this doesn't throw more confusion into it, by salt, we're saying it's like reiseach, it's like burning, but it makes no difference it's on the top or the bottom. It does not affect the salty piece. Meaning if you have a salty piece of meat and you drop some cheese on it and it stays on it, so we say it's like it's hot. it is hot, but the meat is not going to be a problem. It's only hot that is going to transfer from the salty piece into the not salty piece, right? There's nothing the unsalty piece is not going to affect the salty piece. It's only the salt, right? I hope I'm being clear with that. The salt piece is going to affect the not salty piece, right? So
the same as by dam.
Meaning if you have
salt draws out the dam. It doesn't draw it in.
Correct. It doesn't bring it, which we'll see it more a little bit weiter. Fine. Ahu bar goizla, the nafel lakada de kimcha. So there was a bar goizla, a bird that fell into a pot of kimcha, right? It's kimcha is kutach. Rashi says it's like our good old kutach, right? And it has milk in it. So Shari Rav Chinana Brei the Rabbi Mepashurinaya, Rav Chinana, the son of Rav Mishnaya, mattered it. He said it's muttar. Amar Rav Man Chacham Levisha Milsaki Hai. How smart is if somebody like him that he could be matter this? Ilav Reb Chanina Brei the Rabbi Mishna the Gavar Rabba. If it wouldn't be such a great person, he wouldn't be able to be matter it. Because Amarlach he's going to say to you, Ki Amar Shmuel Maliyach Hareu Karaseach. When did we say that salt is considered like it's boiling? Shei Nechal Machmas Milchei. That's because it's not eaten because of the salt. Hai Nechal Machmas, but this is edible. So since it's edible, it's not salty enough to transfer taste. Right. Also, we also the kavush harei kumushal means something that's soaked is as if it's cooked, right? That means if something sits in, it's not the 24 hours. Rashi says it's on chaimitz in vinegar, right? Meaning normally we say kavush is 24 hours. So let's say a milk bottle. So you say 1 second. Let's say I take hot soup and I put it into a milk bottle. So you say, oh, the milk was cold, so it's not really a milk thing. So what should be wrong with the soup, right? But the answer is no. Since the milk sits in the bottle for 24 hours, that's considered kavush, and it's as if it was cooked in there, and therefore it's mamish considered a dairy pot. So anything that food sits in there for 24 hours, that's considered it's considered as if it was cooked in there. But if it's vinegar, then it's a lot less. Anything sharp, that kavush can be knocked down even to 18 minutes, or maybe even less than that, right? So if you take basically, the shaila would be if you take, by mistake, if you took a milchik spoon and stuck it into your charein, it's Erev Shabbos, so we can go, right? By mistake, you took charein with a milchik spoon, and then it sat in there, right? You leave the spoon in the charein, and then all of a sudden you realize it's a milchik spoon, so then that might be as if it's cooked. It was cooked in there. So, okay, but that's a whole...
Depends which company's charein.
That's true. You're right.
My father was makbid on mayonnaise because it had vinegar in it or something.
Yeah, but see, but
even
that's
mayonnaise like that.
Right, but it doesn't have a vinegary taste. It's bottle in there. It's bottle.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask, the sugary grains then wouldn't work for this conversation.
Correct, 100%. You're right. I got the old school grains. That's a
I don't understand.
ShopRite is the best, by the way. I'm just letting you know. Agav.
Yeah.
ShopRite's mamash will knock your socks right off. Go ahead. What are you saying?
Trader Joe's, Trader Joe's has crazy.
Good point.
Trader Joe's has
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
When does it become halachi palm? As soon as you put it in, or after 24 hours?
No, if it goes into something vinegary and sharp, then it's 18 minutes is about the way we paskin. 18 minutes is the equivalent of 24 hours.
How about the milk situation again?
Milk is 24 hours.
Onions would be 18 minutes with like an onion, or that's right away.
Well, the onion's not liquid, so it's a little different.
But we say it's a sharp. It has a sharp flavor,
yeah,
right?
No, it is sharp.
So,
yeah. Onions would be, if you kept it in onions, then maybe. But I don't know what that would be. It would have to be onions with water.
So before 18 minutes, you just wash it off?
Yes, before 18 minutes, you just wash it off.
I'm assuming what you were saying was there's not enough juice coming from the onion and in a juicy onion.
Correct. We don't say kavush on solids, meaning if you take a piece of cheese and leave it in a plastic container, that's not considered kavush soaked. Kavush is only with liquids, not with solids, right? Then it's also, once we're on the okay, that's not negated to this now. Let's go back to Bahani, if it wouldn't be Friday, then we Bahani mili chai. But that's only if it's raw meat. But if it's cooked, if it's roasted meat, then it's going to need a klipa, right? If roasted meat falls into milk, then you're going to have to peel it off a klipa, right? That's right. Okay, the Gemara clarifies that. That's only if it doesn't have cracks in it. Aval ispe pili, but if there's cracks in the meat, then it's assur. The entire piece is assur. Why? Because we discussed this yesterday or 2 days ago. We assume that the milk penetrated through all the cracks and went down inside the meat, and there's no way to get it out. It's a practical thing that there's just no way to get it out. Right? That's what we said with the smooth. If it's smooth meat, then it's not going to penetrate; it'll roll right off. If it's cracked, then it's a problem. B'matuva b'tavli assur, and also if it has a lot of spices in it, it's also going to be assur, because the spices makes the meat soft. Rashi says, and once it's soft, the milk is going to penetrate it. So Amar Rav. Then Rav says another major halacha here. That's what the Gershon was referring to. Amar Rav, now on the base. Basa shchuta shamen. If you have shechted meat that's fatty meat, shetzalu in basar nevela kochosh, and you roasted it in an oven, right, together with basar that's treif, but it's kochosh. It's I don't know what piece of meat would be kochosh. Not a geschmacka piece of meat. Shoulder meat, whatever, something not fatty, not geschmack, right? Again, so what you basically have this guy who roasted at the same time a fatty piece of meat together with a kochosh, a lean piece of meat. So Rav said that it's assur. My timer, why? Because mefatmi ve'adadi. What happens is they get fattened from each other. Again, the kosher piece was the fatty one. I'm sorry. Let's back it up. Something fat is geschmack, and it gives over taste a lot more than something skinny. Now, no offense to anybody that's skinny, but usually guys with geschmacka personalities are fat. That's the mitzias.
Right, Dovi.
That's the way it is. Right, so memela, it's the same thing in kashrus. A fatty piece of meat gives off its taste to a lean piece of meat does not give off. Right. So
does your personality change if you're skinny and then you get fat?
I believe it does. But
Reb Yaakov, so I have to stop. I got to tell you, Reb Shloima once asked Rav Hutner. I don't know if not everybody knows who he is. He said, Rebbe, how come all the tzaddikim look like Rav Mendel Morris? None of them look like me. That's
right. Right. Okay. So that's right. Exactly that. That's exactly what it is. But anyway, so the case in kashrus is that the kosher piece of meat was fatty, and the not kosher was lean. So you think, okay, so what's the problem? I put it into the oven. The fatty piece gives off taste to the lean piece. Okay, so the kosher gave off taste to the treif. The treif you can't eat anyways. But what Rav is saying, no, what happens is that in the air of the oven, the fatty piece gives fat to the lean piece, which is treif. And then now the lean piece became fat. And then it goes back into the kosher one, right? You see the lumdus that's going on here? So that's what Rav's saying. The Levi Omar, hence the Levi that I said before. The Levi Omar, afilu basa shchuta kochosh, even if the shechted piece is decayed, shetzalu in basar nevela shamein, muttar. He goes totally the opposite. He says not only is if the kosher piece is fat and the not kosher piece is lean, that it's not an issue, but he says even if the shechted piece is lean and the treifa piece is fat, so you think, okay, so the fatty piece of meat goes and takes treifa fat and goes into the lean piece of meat. You would think that should be also. He says, no, it's muttar, right? That's what Levi says. My taima, reicha ba'almahu, it's considered just smell. For reicha la milsi, and reicha is nothing. Okay? Ovid Levi of the Beiresh Galusa, Bigdi, V'davar Acher, and Levi Taka did this with a goat and a davar acher and a chazer, and he put it into the oven at the same time, and it was fine, right? So now, if you paskin like Levi, which is, by the way we paskin, so reicha is lav milsa, you can cook treif in the same oven at the same time as kosher, and it's going to be fine, al tzreach. Now, the truth is, it's a little tricky. We paskin lechatchila not like Levi, meaning lechatchila don't do it. If you did it, it's going to be fine, al tzreach. Now, there's another issue called zeya. That the Gemara is not referring to. That's if it steams up, the inside of the oven steams up, so that's actual taste. This is just talking about if it's just reach, right? So lamaisa we paskin that reicha is lav milsa b'di'evid. Okay, so what is this negeya? And Go ahead.
When I was the year before I got married, in the summer I worked in the smoked cheese factory. Right, that's my wife's engagement ring comes from that
Right.
summer. Anyway, so we
Her
smoked
engagement
cheese.
ring is smoked cheese?
Well, pretty good, huh? So this cheese gets the taste from the smoke. So that's how you get the taste of that's
Right. So you're
smoke.
saying. So what are you saying? So
You
that's
put in
rare or not?
you put in American cheese or whatever cheese it was, I don't remember. And the smell that it's something. The smoke becomes something. That's how you make smoked cheese. I mean, he had separate ovens for
Right, but that's actual smoke. That's actual
Yeah,
smoke.
so that's not
just rare.
That's not rare. Okay.
When you
fine.
make a smoker out of a kettle grill, you're using a tin with water in it that goes on top of the fire. So it's really the smoke is created with steam from the water as well.
Saying that there's actual steam though, right?
There's steam there, yeah. Most smokers, I mean, not most, but a lot of smokers also have like a water basin for, to help, I guess, move around the smoke that's there. So it is using some sort of water vapor.
Okay, so then that's what we're calling steam, right?
We burn sawdust. That's what the smoke came out from sawdust. Different flavors of sawdust, hickory sawdust, and the different trees.
Right, those are the chips that you put in the smoker.
Uh-huh.
Right, but you also use some water in there also to help move things around.
Okay, fine.
But anyway, so basically the thing is like this, and that's a common question is this, first of all, the reyach for sure is only an issue when they're in the oven at the same time. One after the other is not an issue. One after the other is a non-issue at all, right? So, okay, whatever it is. But again, reyach b'di'evet, we say that it's muttar.
So this guy, the fellows who do smoking from this chevra, so they could put a ham and have the taste of a ham in a kosher piece of meat.
If they, well, no, because we're saying smoking is more than that. But theoretically,
okay,
right,
fine.
so
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but if it would be two dry pieces of meat in an oven at the same time, it's going to be. But the evidence is going to be okay. We said even chametz and matzah. If you bake a challah in the oven or a cake in the oven at the same time as matzah, the matzah is fine, right? Yeah, I actually had this shiloh last night. Of course, Baruch Hashem, right? So this is what somebody did. They would make pizza that they fried the onions. Or you were talking about the onions. She fried the onions in garlic oil that was heated up in the oven that was cooking chicken. You following the lumdus? So it was cooking chicken with oil, and she thinks that the chicken was not covered, no liquid. Then she put the onions on the pizza. Right? So now that's a reyach.
She was asking you before she ate it?
They were asking before they ate, yes.
Because then by the time they asked you, they have to reheat the pizza. How are they reheating that pizza with the oven, with the onions on it?
Right, I hear that. They could use a different oven, or they could use the good old pizza, the red ones from Betty Crocker.
You
right?
should have told her to sell the recipe to Domino's.
Yeah, so I'm saying, so that was a reyach b'di'evet, right? B'di'evet was a reyach.
What was the answer?
No liquid. The answer was it was fine. The answer was that it was fine. But the question is, if she had not put it onto the pizza yet, would we allow her to put it onto the pizza? Which then means, okay, maybe eat the pizza, but take the onions off. So I'm not today. I'm already clearing. Should I have told her to take the onions off before eating the pizza?
Isn't that the Machlokes Taz and Shach? What's called b'di'evet? What's the fatila?
Yeah, that's what you get into. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. It's getting late. Okay, Meisvei. Now the Gemara is going to ask some kashas on this yisoid. Ein soil and shnei pesachim ke'echad. You're not allowed to roast two korban pesachs together. Why? Taruvis, because there's taruvis. Now, what's going to happen? Because you have, again, every chevra gets their own. Let's say there's 5 people to a korban pesach. So you have two different groups roasting their korban pesach. So now the taste from one's going to go into the other, and you're not allowed to share, right? You have to have each group has their own pesach, so the taste is going to go from one to the other. My love, taruvis tamim, isn't it the taruvis of taste? The kasha levi. Levi says there's no issue. If Levi allows treif in the oven at the same time as kosher, so 2 korban pesachs, you're going to allow the same thing. But and the Bryce says you can't. So we say no. Taruv is goof. No, we're afraid that you're going to just mix it up. Meaning, you put it on the right, and the other group put it on the left, and then you're going to end up swapping. So that makes sense too. The Gatani Sefer, because it says in Sefer, even if it's a gedi and a tle, which are two different animals. So why shouldn't you be able to? So the question is, what's wrong? If it's a gedi and a tle, what should be the problem? So if you say it's because you might mix up the animals, that means even in gedi and tle, that's the chiddush. If the whole assur is taste, so who cares if it's a goat and a goat or a goat and a sheep, right? That's always going to be an issue. So elamai, the whole problem must be just mixing it up. Elamai al karchach mipnei tarubas gufin hu da'asar, right? But that's only because of you're mixing up the bodies. Al tarubas tamim shari. So then lame b'tamit you have to derab. But so then you're clearly saying that it has to do with you mixing up the bodies. But taste is no problem. So then if that's the case, it's a kash on Rav. Some Rabbi Yirmiyah Hacham asking going shatzalo b'shtei kederis. No, they were cooked in two different pots. So if it's in two different pots, then the taste is not going to go anywhere. So Gemara says b'shtei kederis agadat. You're cooking in two different pots. You're not allowed to cook korban pesach in pot. That's what we're doing the last couple of days. It means like two pots. Meaning, Rashi says. You put one spit on one side, one spit on the other side, you put a big thing of coals in between them. So Mamela, there's no way any taste is getting from one to the other because the coals are going to burn it up, which is a whole different sugya in the kashrus.
But you said the coals were in between the two?
They put the coals piled up like a wall in between the.
So if you want to get back to the smoking conversation, I think that Parrot is still on. The concept of smoking is indirect heat. You kind of
indirect heat, exactly. Yeah.
You put the food on the outside. The water that was mentioned before is more to keep the meat moist. But the concept is it's that indirect heat, so it doesn't cook so quickly. And that would be the case where you would have both of them up to the exterior of the coals.
Very good, very good.
The water actually helps the smoke bond to the meat.
Okay, I hear that. But then you get into the double ovens. You have the milchig oven on top of the fleishig oven. Those type of ovens. Okay, whatever it is. And this is what it's saying. You're not allowed to roast two korban pesachs together because of taruvas. My taruvas tamim. It's taruva of taste. And even if it's like two pots, the leka taruvas tamim. If it's like two pots and there's no taste mixing up. Also mishum taruvas gufen. It's also because of mixing of the bodies, meaning the animals are going to get mixed up. And that means even in a gediva tle might get mixed up. So this whole din is like a machlokes tanoim, which is the case we had before. If somebody takes out hot bread, then he puts it on top of a barrel of wine that's from trumah. So again, you have hot bread on top of a barrel of trumah. Rameir says it's assur. Rabbi Yehuda matter. Rabbi Yehuda says it's matter. Rabbi Yosi matter b'shel chitin v'oisel b'shel soim. Rabbi Yosi is in the middle. He allows wheat if the challah is made out of wheat, but not if it's made out of assur shel b'shel soim. And he asks if it's barley. Because barley draws out the taste from the wine much stronger. My love Tanaihi. This is machlokes Tanaihi. The Marsava Reicha Lav Milsi. The one that says that it's muttar. Rabbi Yehuda says it's muttar because smell is nothing. Meaning what happened? You take the hot challah, put it down on top of the open barrel of trumah wine. Now that heat is going, the smell of the trumah is going to go into the bread, right? But it's just reyach. It's not anything more than that. So the one that says muttar, Rabbi Yehuda says it's muttar. So he says it's reyach is lav milsa, right? And the one that says assur holds reyach is milsa, right? Umar sava reicha milsi. Levi Vada said, and the Gemara says Levi Vada Tanai. So according to Levi, you have to say it's a Tanai. The Rav name, the Levi Vada Tanai. Right? According to Levi, it's for sure a machlokes. The Rav name of Tanai. According to Rav, let's say what Rav said is a machlokes Tanai. So Amalach Rav, no. The Kuli Alma Reicha Milsi. Everybody holds Reicha is something. I'm sorry, Reicha Milsi Lav Itma. No, I'm saying it wrong. Yeah, right. Reicha milsi lav itmar lodehi. It wasn't said in that case. So Amar Rav Rachana Rish Lakish, but pas chama v'chavas psucha divrei kol assur. When it's hot, when it's hot bread and an open barrel, meaning that there's no cap on the barrel, divrei hakol assur. Everybody holds it's assur. But past tzenenes, when it's cold bread, v'chavas megufa, and the chavas is covered, so then divrei hakol muttar. Why should it be assur, right? You have cold bread on top of a closed barrel of wine. The Machlokes is if it's hot bread on top of a closed barrel, pas tzenenes, or cold bread v'chavas psucha, and the barrel's open. Right? And Rav, when putting two pieces of meat together, he holds is like hot bread with an open barrel where everybody's going to be maida that it's no good. So it's not, according to Rav, does not have to be Machlokes tonight. According to Levi, it does have to. Fine. So Tani Rav Kahana Breda Rav China Asava. Pascha offer in sleeve a tanner. So if you have bread that got baked with,
I know what there is.
Yeah, this comes up. Somebody's got a mute.
It was a tough one.
Yeah.
Tough decision.
Pascha offer.
You're always going to take the hard.
It's a spiral. You have to mute.
I got kicked off last week for that same thing. How come he gets to stay?
All right. Pascha offer in sleeve, but it's a Friday afternoon thing.
Sorry.
I got
No
my
problem.
oven open. That's why I'm burning my fingers off trying to mute everybody.
Parrots. You can show practical parrots. Put the camera on the oven, man. What you got in there? Right? Bread and no? Okay, there we go. Okay, so now
I don't think he eats wine in the oven.
It's covered, parrots. It doesn't help anything. We need uncovered. Pas. Okay, here we go. Ready? Because this is very common case. Pas sha'afim tzli b'taner. If you take bread and you roast it with meat in the oven at the same time. Assur la'achla b'kutach. You're not allowed to eat it with cheese. Right? Yeah? So that's
Does that work?
well, you have bread in there?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Oh, he doesn't have the exact case of the Gemara.
Okay.
No,
because a lot of times before Shabbos, people put their challahs into the oven to crisp it or whatever, right? So anyway, so you have pasta you baked it with. So if on Peretz's grill, if he would have put bread in there, which he does usually, right? He makes these challahs in there. You're not allowed to eat it with. You're not allowed to eat it with kutach. Right, and then let's just see weiter. There was a fish that was once roasted with meat. And Rava did not allow it to be eaten with cheese. Why? Because, because he's holding that it's reicha milsa, right? Marbar of Ashi Omar afil b'milcha nami also. Even eating the fish with salt, meaning stam eating the fish, is also mishum dekashi l'reicha l'davar achar, because it's difficult for reach, and what do you call it, causes bad breath, and l'davar achar, and for the tzaras, because basically that's fish and meat together, right? That's right. He baked fish and meat in the oven at the same time. Yeah, but b'diavad. So again, according to Levi, in all these cases, b'diavad, it's going to be okay, right? But again, even he eats, meaning going back to the first case, to take bread that you baked with roasted meat in an oven, so you can't eat it with kutach, right? That's because it's a lechatchila. But what would Levi say if you did mix it together with the cheese? Levi would say it's 100% fine, right? And one thing is for sure, you don't have to wait 6 hours if you eat that bread, even though the bread was together. That's not for sure. It's not for sure. The Arshit is a whole other. We pass on the Maisa. You bake bread or challah in the oven at the same time as fleishiks. You cannot eat it with dairy, but it's not going to make you have to wait 6 hours. Okay, I wish we could spend more time. What time was the Shabbos? 8:20, because it's getting later. 8:20 what's the Shabbos?
And do we have Shir Shabbos afternoon?
4 o'clock. 4 o'clock, and if you're a real diehard, I'm giving Shirin Shayashuv to the Shah program on Shabbos morning at 10:45 upstairs. All right.
Good Shabbos.
Okay, good Shabbos.
4 o'clock. Shabbos.
How you doing that? Davening is not finished with 10:45.
Because I'm not davening in the main minyan. I'm davening in the dining room.
Okay.
Got that? Your kasha doesn't even start.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, the kasha started as a teretz.
Yeah, right.
That should be. There shouldn't be. There's better kashas to ask, but we're not going down.
No,
that
I'm just saying that.
That's right. We're
Stop,
not going
stop, stop the recording. I can ask another Shaila.
Yeah. All right.
Yaakov, what does the Beis Yosef do with this last line of Gemara?
What do you mean? You think I'm
The
like
fish
holding
is
the
on-
Beis Yosef like you are? I'm not holding in the Beis Yosef like you are.
No, the what's it called? The fish you can't eat with milk. This Gemara says clearly you can eat it with milk unless it's got the tav of basar in.
Gershon.
Yeah.
So I would say, because Yaakov, I would tell it for you, but for you, I'm going to tell you because. So my anical Kanara, the one who was saying Tillim for Yosef Ben Esther should have a full shleima.
Yeah.
So that's they're both Bukharian, so they don't need. So I told him he should go to his Rav first, or if you want a real schooler, go to your Rav, be mata neder, and I'll get you a bagel with cream cheese and lox, and that'll be the schooler.
Yeah, there you go. Very good. Oh, because they don't eat it. They don't eat together.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you asking on the Beis Yosef?
This past line of Gemara, right? The Benisa de Itzra B'Hadi Distra, assur Rovim B'Parzik L'Mikvei B'Kutach. But before it was roasted with meat, it was muttar to eat B'Kutach.
Before it was roasted with meat.
The Gemara says clearly it's muttar to eat with kutach.
Right.
But Jesus says not.
Before it was roasted with meat, it's what the Gemara doesn't say that.
He assured it because it was roasted with meat. It's assur to eat with kutach.
Correct.
What shaykh is the meat? According to Beis Yosef, it's anyway assur to eat with kutach. Where does the meat come in?
According to the Beis Yosef. Are you talking about that? I hear.
Yeah.
But isn't that what the Gemara was saying in the next line?
No, the next line doesn't help.
Why? Because he assured it out. Oh, that's meat and fish. That's meat.
No, that's meat and fish.
Meat and
yeah.
Meat and fish. Right. And listen, nobody understands the Beis Yosef. I mean, when you're asking kashas on something and nobody understands.
No, but this isn't one of the kashas that the Chavasas, for example. He doesn't ask this on it. The Shach holds that Beis Yosef's a mistake. He didn't ask this. Oh, he does. Maybe he does.
He asks definitely from some Gemaras. He definitely asks from some.
Yeah. I think this is one of them, Taka. Yeah.
Yeah? Is that so? I
think
don't
it could be. I'm not sure, but it could be.
I hear.
All right. Yashikoyev. Have a good Shabbos.
All right. Okay. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Have a good Shabbos.
Have a good Shabbos.